We gather time, honored ritual to share our grief and sadness and to continue to heal the wounds of loss we may feel in our own lives. Though we may grieve and mourn, we will not let the shadow of death blind us to the living person who touched us in so many ways, who has been a very real part of our lives and who has helped to create memories, memories, some blessed memories. Let us be wise enough not to let death blind us to the power of love and the power of life. It is good that we have gathered because we need one another. We need one another in empathy and consolation. We need each other for the courage and wisdom to accept the truth of Charlie's death and also to celebrate his life. Good folks, it is good that we are here together. For human life is sacred in being born, sacred in its living, and sacred in its dying. I want to share another poem. It's a poem that's always touched me. It's a miracle, nothing less than a miracle, that flowers bloom every spring, that living thing begets living thing, that we human beings emerge again and again from ignorance to knowledge, from hopelessness to meaning, from sadness to joy. It's a miracle, nothing less than a miracle. Music. Wayne Boswell, also known as Charlie, Chuck, and perhaps by a number of other epithets. In my short time here, in an environment of COVID, I never got to know Charlie personally. It's rare for me to conduct a memorial service for someone I didn't really know. And yet, I feel like I missed something of significance. Charlie seemed like quite the guy. From what I can tell, he had the ability to enhance anyone's life that he touched. One of the first things I heard about Charlie was that he was a professional grade dad, professional grade joker as well. All who knew Charlie and Martha experienced being taken care of. They seemed to accumulate kids around them. They provided a place to crash, seemed to understand what people wanted and needed. They took kids and maybe anybody else that wanted to go on excursions around the community. They sought adventure. It seems anyone could see the product of their concern and effort. Charlie, was clearly fond of those young people. His fondness for those kids was not age dependent. It seemed anyone Charlie met, he assumed they were available for adoption. He simply loved people. And people seemed to understand that he had no ulterior motives, just a concern for them as individuals. And they felt that he had an investment in their success. Best I can tell, Charlie was one of those individuals who was able and willing to follow his muse. After venturing down the road of aeronautical engineering, he heard the radio call. That call led him to a stellar career as a disc jockey, and then as the owner of 3 successful radio stations, with no small amount of help from his wife, Martha. A lot of help. Then he heard the call of Roanoke and returned to Roanoke College to pursue a degree in theater. He probably didn't know it at the time, but there was much more than theater awaiting him in Roanoke. Not long before graduating, and he was in the process of becoming, after all, the universe presented him with the gift of his life. Her name was Martha. Her name is still Martha, and still a great gift. They enjoyed the theater together. He directed and acted in numerous plays, any number of which he reeled his family into participating in. This man called Charlie, has made an impact on this world. He touched many people. He laughed with many people. He cared for many people. And so very many people loved him. Charlie Boswell. Today, we gather to express our gratitude for the good days and years we were able to be with Charlie. By remembering the best of his life, by recalling some of his finest qualities and traits, by accepting the truth of who he was and how he touched us, we honor him. Today and forevermore, each time we remember Charlie, we are connected with his life and can speak to him in our hearts and in our thoughts. In a very real sense, he has become a part of each one of us. Here and now, this moment is filled with the meaning we each bring to this moment, filled with our sadness, concerns, and our love. Now, you are the ones who know him best. No doubt you have memories, stories of good times, and maybe not so good times. First, I'd like to ask if there's anyone from the family who would like to share a few words with you this afternoon.
I think I did that right. One, I just want to thank everybody for coming. It's just so powerful to see everything you just said. It's like in real life here with everybody here, just honoring my dad. Thank you for playing those songs. I don't think everybody knows why they played Anything Goes, but that's where Mom and Dad met. They were doing that show together on Mill Mountain when it was still on the mountain. So very, very near our heart. I'm gonna have to read this because there's no way I'm gonna get through it looking at you guys. So I really wanted to talk about and just expand on everything you said so wonderfully, and really from the perspective of a son and how he was a great dad. I'll get there. So my dad had a really strong moral compass, and that was always very clear in how he treated people, just like the Reverend said. And sometimes he might have taken this too far, making friends absolutely everywhere we went, especially when we were just trying to leave a restaurant and get to the car. But he would find anything in somebody that he could connect with them with. And he always asked about them. He never talked about himself. And I really think he truly wanted to get to know every single person on this planet, even people across the world. I'm hoping this will get recorded. I think a lot of you knew that they had the international daughters, my international sisters, all in Europe and beyond, all the way to Qatar, right? So I guess. So one story that really sticks with me about my dad's moral compass is he coached our Little League basketball team when we were in middle school. And one year we were undefeated. And I have to say that because that should be remembered forever. My dad coached an undefeated basketball team. And the other years, not so much. We weren't great. But there were these two brothers on our team, and they were not great basketball players, but they loved the game, and they played it with all their heart. And we definitely lost a lot because my dad played them every single game, no matter what. People would come to him, these other parents that were just blind to what was important. They would yell at him about us losing, about not playing their kids enough because they were going to be superstars. But he just said, no, what's important is they play. And he just said for middle school basketball, it was important to play, not win. And that always stuck with me. Now I don't think he has that same philosophy with Virginia basketball or Virginia Tech basketball. Winning is the main thing. But my dad also really taught us what it looks like, and this is just blows my mind as I get older, what it looks like to love unconditionally, like in the most truest sense of that term. Not just us, not just his family, but definitely us, but all of his friends and all of people he just met along the way that just seemed to be good. And even the place that he lived. He loved Roanoke. He loved Orangeburg. I don't know why. You guys know. It's a beautiful place, but whenever he put roots, he loved it, and he gave back to it. He was on school boards, committees, just everything. And even he loved the tap water. This just came to me today. He would just die on the cross about tap water and just swear this is the best tap water ever. And you try to give him Brita, and he'd be like, I'm not doing that. Orangeburg has the best tap water. Roanoke has the best tap water. Wins awards. But his support was endless in that way, And on a personal note, one of the ways this really showed up is I did what I think every parent's nightmare is of an 18-year-old kid. I said I wanted to go to an out-of-state arts conservatory college. Especially nowadays, I think it would bankrupt most people. He never said the odds were against me. He never tried to talk me out of it. All he did was figure out a way to make it work. And I did the next worst thing I could possibly do going to that school is 1 year after I graduated, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. And again, he never chastised me for the money they put into it. He never said I shouldn't do it. And he didn't say it again the third time I changed careers, 7 years later. And now that I'm older, I just see how special that was and how much better I am for it, just to have that unconditional support. Not everybody's that lucky. And just one more story, if you don't mind, and I'll go on way longer. So for some reason, I grew up stubborn. I don't know where I got it from. And because of that, when I was 18, my brother, he left for college for 1 year, and it was just us. And it wasn't a good year. We had a hard time. So, sorry. When I was about to graduate high school, he forced me, that's how I thought of it at the time, he forced me to take a trip with him to Asheville, just me and him. And I was bitter about it. I was begrudging, even when he would bring hot fresh now Krispy Kremes every morning for breakfast because he freaking loved it and you knew I loved it. He always was just trying to make amends. And one day, I think it was either the last day, we decided to go see a movie. And I thought, well, what movie did we watch? And there was this movie that was just kind of strangely making waves and everybody was saying it was called There's Something About Mary. I had no idea what was in that movie when we went to see it. So there I am in the theater, and if you haven't seen it, you'll see it. Look this up because it's not necessarily kosher for a large crowd. But I'm sitting there in a dark theater, just me and my father as an 18-year-old teenager. And then the hair conditioner scene comes up. And I was mortified. It was the most uncomfortable thing in the world. This is never anything Dad and I talked about. It was like, right? If you don't know it, look up the movie. You'll totally understand what I'm talking about. This is the worst possible scenario I could be in. And I look over going, oh my God, what is his face going to be? And he is like dying laughing, crying, laughing so hard. And honestly, it seems so weird, but I just saw him differently from then on. And we got home, things were better, and I went off to college. And it's because he wanted to make damn sure that we were always on good terms. And that was a thing that he would never hesitate to do for anybody. And Dad was right most of the time about that. I gotta read this last part, I'm sorry. He was always making sure that we were loved and supported, and it wasn't just us. Mom and Dad, definitely Mom in all this, made everyone feel that way. Their friends, Cliff, me, our friends, whenever they saw them, they were like immediately family people they just ran into. It was theater groups. Gosh, I can't leave you guys out. One of your fourth or fifth families of his. It was just so incredibly special. And Cliff and I always felt comfortable calling Mom and Dad about almost anything. And I know now that not everyone can say that. And Dad always made sure, no matter what we did, we always entered our conversations with, I love you. You never failed to say it. Even when I was younger and it made me cringe like crazy. So we were incredibly lucky for him to be our father. I love you, Dad.
I'm the little girl that was pulling the wagon with my brother in it. And he always called me, since this was in the obituary, I feel like I need to explain. He always called me his much older sister. And the reason he did, I think, I've narrowed it down. When he was about 4, and I was about 7, figure that one out, much older, I sat on him and made him hold still while I painted his fingernails. So his revenge for the rest of our lives, or when we grew up, was, this is my much older sister, Marietta. And I have to echo what Clint said and what Reverend Walt said, that he took care of people, because I've had a few bumps in my life, and he has always been supportive and loving and patting me on the back and telling me, sis, you can do it. They call me sis, by the way. My nephews did not know my name for the longest time. They thought my name was sis. And then the thing I wanted to remember about him was, I think he came close to making the only mistake in his life that I ever knew he could make. And that was, he wanted no children. And found out later the reason he didn't want children is because he thought he couldn't do as good a job as our father had done. And look what happened. Well, first of all, he meets Martha, and it's a deal breaker. She's not marrying him if we can't have children. So that settled that because he just adored her. And look what happened. He ended up with joys of his life. He was foolish about his children. And they're both productive, gentle, tender, and gorgeously handsome young men. Thank God for Martha.
I am Cliff. I am the handsomer of the two handsome singles. I don't really have any stories to share, but I want to, a couple things I want to say. I've been feeling so much gratitude for the past 2.5 weeks. So I've been saying thank you. I feel like constantly because there's so much to be thankful for. I feel like I'm accepting an award a little bit. I want to thank anyways, all the directors. I want to thank everyone here for whatever part you played in Dad's life and for enriching it in whatever way that you did. This loss is not just ours. This is all of our loss. This is a loss for all of us, everyone in here, for the world, honestly. Whenever we invite love into our life, we invite pain. It's just the other side of the coin. And the fact that we're all here in pain, letting it flow through us, feeling it, and I encourage you all to fully feel it, you honor Dad's memory, and that is a way of showing how you loved him, is by grieving. So, in a weird sort of way, thank you all for grieving my dad. That we are all, you said we are all here gathered in grief, and that's very poignant to thinking about things. And as the waves of anguish become more bearable, and as the periods of normalcy between, oh man, I just looked at Mom. I shouldn't have looked at Mom. And as the periods of normalcy, grow in between that, thanks for keeping Dad alive in your memories too, whatever memories you have of him. Thank you for keeping him there. So, Dad really loved the performance, as I think you all knew or can gather by now. He loved speaking and being in front of people, oration. So I think if there's anything about energy, matter, consciousness, intention, world that we don't know about that would allow him to tune in and observe us here, it probably would be about right now. So I want to say to Dad, if it is somehow possible that he is tuning into this broadcast, that we love you, we always will love you. We will miss you, we will always miss you. You gave me the best part of myself, best parts of myself. You gave me gifts, and Clint, you addressed this too. Although you were pathologically salutary, it did enable me to be able to make friends and value friendships and connections, and that is important to me as an extrovert. He served as the foundational pillars for my moral compass, like Clint said. That was a good way of putting that. He taught me to value kindness, empathy, humor, that's a big one, underlying humor, collaboration, critical thinking, nonviolence, intelligence. He taught me to value my own happiness. I was listening to Dad. Dad, you taught me to value my own happiness, because that was what was most important to you for everyone really around you. And the fact that I can value my own happiness is thanks to that. And his support and love of the arts enabled me to be able to identify as an artist and do that And that's a very important part of my life. So thank you for that. And coming back to gratitude, again, Dad, if you are able to listen to this somehow, I'm very grateful that you are my dad.
Good afternoon. My name is Anna Elizabeth, and Chuck's niece, older niece. I do agree with Reverend in that he was a very caring person. He's very kind and always engaging and wanting to know how you were doing. He pulled you off to the side and tell me about you. How are you doing right now? Around about 1980, Cliff and Clint were born. And Laura and I thought we had some new dolls to play with. So we went and stayed with them. Well, I think Cliff was, I don't know, maybe two, and then 18 months later? Very, very close in age. Anyway, we had 2 little dolls to play with. And Aunt Martha was okay with that. Uncle Chuck, we woke him up from their naps too early. We took him to the park by ourselves. He was not gonna have it. So anyway, I'm really sorry that he was taken from you guys. Aunt Martin was so soon, too soon. You had much more good times to have. Cliff and Clint, I'm sorry, and Mom too.
That was my much older sister, Aunt Elizabeth, Laura, Marietta's daughter, Uncle Chuck's. Set up for different. I'm Laura, Uncle Chuck's youngest niece, and my thoughts right now are, wow, you guys have done an amazing job giving a tribute to Uncle Chuck and to there were 2 wonderful gals here that have been so supportive over the last couple of weeks. I really appreciate what Maria and Keela have done for Aunt Martha and for Cliff and Clint to have created this special memory day for Aunt Martha and all of us. Well done, guys. And I just love what both of you all have said. They're so alike but so unique in their own way. Just extremely valuable words that you came up with that have just already helped me listening today. I'm thinking about what you said about the spark of joy. I'm feeling like Uncle Chuck, we are all noticing how much joy he had and how much happiness he had all these last few weeks. I keep thinking he had so much happiness and joy with Aunt Martha in his life. He was such a happy person. He was so grateful to be with her all the time. And maybe these little visits with perfect strangers were a way that he wanted to share his joy with other people. He constantly, like you said, found a spark of joy in conversations with people. And today, I think we all need that. We just need to find a stranger and make a connection. Right now, we're losing so much connection with each other. So kudos to him. But another expression of gratitude, like Cliff said, I have a lot of gratitude for Martha and Chuck giving us a great role model of marriage. We've been married 22 years, and it's just been a great, great time for us to be around you all and to learn a lot of the ups and downs and just to see a great marriage and a successful marriage. We love and appreciate those years that you all have given all of us in the family. And of course, his humor. Let's just remember him for all of his joy and his humor, and what a wonderful legacy he's given us all for staying connected.
Good afternoon. My name is Roddy, and Chuck and I are cousins. His mother and my mother are sisters. And I did want to come here today. Now, Chuck grew up in Roanoke. I grew up in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina, which is about 250 miles southeast of here. And every so often, Chuck and Marietta and Mott Stubb would come down to Roanoke Rapids for a quick weekend visit. And but one time, the one memory I want to share with you guys is that one particular summer, Chuck came down and spent a week of his summer vacation with us. My memory is that we both were probably 7 or 8, give or take a year. And it was one summer morning, me and Chuck and a couple of our neighborhood friends were out playing in the about a block and a half from or half a block really from my house. And I was barefooted. Back then, that was a normal thing to do, go barefooted. And by the way, this memory goes back about 70, almost 70 years ago. But we were playing around this clubhouse. It was called a clubhouse there in Roanoke Rapids. And it was used for families in the area for dances and whatnot, things like that. And the building itself was locked, but adjacent or back at the back porch of the building was screened in. That was not locked, but it did have drink machines, soda machines, that you could go in and purchase your soda with 15 cents or a quarter or whatever. And the sodas were in glass bottles. And that particular morning, I was walking, running, whatever, up the steps to the back, to that porch. And I didn't see it, but on that brick step was a shard of a broken Coke bottle or Pepsi bottle, I don't remember which. But not seeing it, I stepped right on that bottle tap. And I yelled out, and blood started gushing from my right foot. It actually was my right toe next to the big toe. Found out later. But Chuck was right behind me and he heard me yell. And he did what I considered you can't really say anything else. It was heroic. He knew what he needed to do. He put me on his back, and we were both about the same size. And he didn't run, but he went as fast as he could back to my house because he knew he had to get me there because I needed medical attention. Because later on we found out I had to at least, I think it was 3 or 4 clamps in my foot, and it put me out of commission for about a week or so, if not more. But I did want to relate that memory to you guys about who Chuck was. And it was no doubt in my mind that it was nothing short of heroic what he did. He knew he had to get me home so I could get taken care of. And you think about it, a half a block with me on his back, horseback, was not an easy thing to do. But in closing, I did want to tell you guys and to Chuck in the words of a song. I won't sing it, but I will tell you. Chuck, did you ever know that you are my hero? You are everything I would like to be. I can fly higher than an eagle because you are the wind beneath my wings. I love you, Chuck. Godspeed, my brother.
Is there anyone else who identifies as family and would like to speak? Then I'll invite folks. Well, you can come talk in any event. As we were designing and talking about this service, family reminded me that Chuck was a part of the theater, and that some of you may be from the theater. And so I was asked to tell you that the microphone gets turned off well before 5 minutes.
Like a good gin and tonic, Charlie was an added bonus to life. He was sparkling, refreshing, and fun. There was always a story, a joke, and a laugh, and a deep appreciation of life. He was a lover of life. In Charlie's eyes, everything was wonderful. He had a deep love for his sister, Marietta, and he so wanted her to move back to Roanoke to be near him. His love for his two sons, Cliff and Clint, and he bragged about every chance he had of all their accomplishments. And in fact, the last time we were together, he told us the story of Clint's birth and his radio fame. His adopted daughters, the young women who attended Roanoke College as foreign students and who he affectionately called Charlie's Angels. He was thrilled to see many of them on his last European trip a few years back. Charlie loved a lot in life, but mostly he loved and adored Martha. He bragged about her acting and singing, and that was really something, Martha, your singing during the old childhood. And he always considered himself very lucky to eat her delicious cooking. So what Charlie has left behind is this huge, silent, vacuum of silence. And about 10 years ago, there was a poem that was printed in the UU World that gives me great solace and during these times of loss that I'd like to share. And it's called Continuum. Perhaps on a day, very much like today, I shall die. A pleasant July, warm and kind. It might be September, when summer is ending and autumn begins. If I die in winter, my ashes will mix with the snow and melt into spring as willows turn soft and green. And then I'll return to that time and space that was my home before I was born. In this continuum, in this silent space that Charlie has left behind, I plan to carry on Charlie's memory and his lessons on how to live a full and fun life. With a lot of laughter, amazement, lightness, and yeah, a few gin and tonics. Charlie, we love you and we're dearly miss you. And just for you, Charlie, we're going to keep Martha company and we're going to share, or we're going to eat her good cooking.
Hi, I'm Meade Gelston, Meade Potts Gelston. Charlie knew me as Meade Potts. We were in college together. He was the rock to our college foolishness. He was a steady influence for all of us. And I have a very short thing to say. It's a haiku, very apt. To be remembered for the sound of your laughter is a life well lived.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Join me in a time of silence. Source of life, God to many, we come to learn the true meaning of humility in the face of death. No matter how good a person we are, no matter our wealth or lack thereof, no matter how loved or loved we may be, our time on this earth is limited. And yet, Spirit of us all, we must be grateful. We're grateful for the opportunity to touch and to be touched by others. We're grateful for the opportunity to engage deeply our family, our friends, and loved ones. We are blessed by the opportunity to help create memories and stories and to laugh and to cry with each other. Spirit of love, we're grateful that we are able to gather today, even as we bid farewell to this person, Charles Chuck Boswell. We're grateful for having our lives touched by this man that we have come to honor and remember. We're grateful for knowing that he rests in peace. We're grateful for having been touched by his life and by his love. And now, let all who are gathered here say amen. I've managed to gather a collection of poems that were written by that famous person, Anonymous. This is entitled, "The Tide Recedes." The tide recedes, but leaves behind bright seashells on the sand. The sun goes down, but gentle warmth still lingers on the land. The music stops, and yet it echoes on in sweet refrains. For every joy that passes, something beautiful remains. I think I'm supposed to speak now, right? Then we'll have music. Go from this place in peace. Go forth with the comfort that even in times of loss, life remains precious and love is eternal. Go in peace.
All my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon rolls through the nighttime till the daybreak comes around. All my life's a circle, but I can't tell you why. The seasons spinning round again, the years keep rolling by. It seems like I've been here before, I can't remember when, but I got this funny feeling that I'll be back once again. There's no straight lines make up my life, and all my roads have bends. There's no clear-cut beginnings, and so far, no dead ends. I've found you 1,000 times, I guess you've done the same. But then we lose each other, it's just like a children's game. But as I see you here again, the thought runs through my mind. Our love is like a circle, let's go out one more time. All my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon goes through the night time till the daybreak comes around. All my life's a circle, but I can't tell you why. The seasons spinning round again, the years keep rolling by. All my life's a circle, sunrise and sundown. The moon goes through the night time till the daybreak comes around. All my life's a circle, but I can't tell you why. The seasons spinning round again, the years keep rolling by. All my life's a circle, there's sunrise and sundown. The moon grows through the night.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. I'll just speak. We have a reception at the Mirador down the street. The address is in the program. Absolutely everyone is welcome. Please come. There'll be a little bit of food, some refreshments. We'd love to see you. Thanks, everybody, for coming.
And I can't wait for you all to see the new house that they're